You're alive.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Bangor City Council. Today is Monday, June 24th. It is 7:30 p.m. We begin our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask Assistant City Manager Courtney O'Donnell to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This is the portion of the meeting set aside for public comment. Public comment, whether in person or through Zoom, requires you to state your name and whether you're a resident of Bangor. Inappropriate or offensive remarks may be interrupted and removed. The council chair has discretion over the time allowed for comment. Tonight we will have 60 minutes for public comment. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes for comment and no more. If you do not live in Bangor or own property in Bangor, please allow those who do live and own property here to have the opportunity to speak first. If you'd like to offer comment on any item not appearing on the regular agenda, you may approach the podium. Please note, on the regular agenda for tonight is both the city's annual budget as well as the ordinance on the proposed ordering and medians. We will take public comment on those items when we get to them. On Zoom, the public may be recognized to speak by the hand raise function or on the phone by pressing *9. If you would like to offer public comment, please approach the podium.
Wayne Mallory, I live at 103 Essex Street. And my wife several meetings ago asked a question about an ordinance, or if there was an ordinance for mechanical or motorized wheeled items on the sidewalk. Now, as a procedural question, I'd like to know, how long do we have to wait to get an answer?
My understanding is we do not yet have an ordinance that would address that.
And what are we
Certainly
doing?
Add it to, don't know if it would be GovOps or infrastructure, probably GovOps. Correct? City manager? Yes. So we can add that to the discussion for our next meeting.
Okay, but you've answered the question about now, but if I hadn't appeared, it would never have gone any further. Is that what you're telling me? So it basically seems that if whatever questions we ask are not going to be answered unless we're back to bring them up again. Is that true? That's my experience.
I still
You
have,
speak for the counties, I mean for the commission.
I still have it on my list when waiting, so I had not gotten back to that, but I do keep a list of everything.
But how long should it be? I mean, it can start at any time. Has the chief of police had any input into it? Have we discussed it with him? It's reaching the point now that I can't back out of my driveway without stopping before I get to the sidewalk because so many motorized bicycles and skateboards and everything are speeding so fast up the sidewalk, and that's ridiculous. So when should I hear? 6 months, be enough time?
We will circle back to you by the end of the week with a date.
Thank you.
Yes. I'll be your passer out.
My name's Tyler Shanahan. I reside on Ohio Street in Bangor, Maine. You don't need me to tell you that the status quo is not working. In Maine, the number of confirmed and fatal overdoses has decreased from 2023 to 2024. This could indicate that we're doing something right. There is more, however, that can be done, like establishing our own overdose prevention center. In February 2020, there was an attempt to open an OPC in southern Philadelphia. However, this was met with opposition by the Department of Justice under previous administration, and it never happened. It's important to note that other cities have successfully operated OPCs. In February of 2022, for example, San Francisco opened a mock OPC. During the 11 months of operation, they reversed 300 overdoses as a test case for new wellness hubs and intended to connect people with addiction and mental health disorders to treatment. New York City has the first officially opened OPCs in the US and is primarily funded through private donations. These OPCs opened their doors on November 30th, 2021. Because of their obvious success, they have gained tremendous amounts of support from people throughout their community, including support from the public, former Mayor Bill de Blasio, and current Mayor Eric Adams. If you want to be progressive and innovative, try new things. With the current presidential administration in support of harm reduction as a way to counter the overdose epidemic, now is the time to endorse OPCs. This is the next step for Bangor. Why don't you help take it? Thank you.
Debbie, that's my hand.
Yep.
Huh?
I'm gonna hit my timer and then I'm gonna move.
Oh, wait, I thought.
Okay.
My name is Scott Hardy. I am a resident of Bangor, and tonight we are on part 6 of overdose prevention centers. We are going to speak on the legalities. From a legal standpoint, the establishment of an overdose prevention center is a complex issue that varies from country to country. In some jurisdictions, such as Canada and Australia, safe injection sites are legal and have been operating for several years. In Canada, for example, the Supreme Court ruled in 2011 that the Vancouver-based in-site facility could remain open. It was deemed to be a necessary part of the response of the city's overdose crisis. In the United States, the legality of overdose prevention sites is less clear. While there are no federal laws that explicitly prohibit the establishment of these facilities, the Controlled Substances Act makes it illegal to knowingly maintain a place for the purpose of using or distributing controlled substances. This has led to concerns that operators of OPCs could be prosecuted under federal law, although no such prosecution has ever taken place. In 2018, the U.S. Department of Justice released a statement expressing its opposition to overdose prevention sites, arguing that they violate federal law and undermine the nation's efforts to combat the opioid epidemic. However, in some states, the states and cities have pushed forward with plans to establish safe injection sites, despite the Department of Justice's stance. Internationally, the United Nations and the World Health Organization have endorsed the use of safe injection sites as part of a comprehensive approach to drug use and public health. The WHO has published guidelines for the operation of these facilities, emphasizing the importance of evidence-based practices and collaboration with local communities. The legality of overdose prevention centers is a contentious issue, with varying approaches across different countries and jurisdictions. While some countries have embraced these facilities as a crucial part of their public health response to drug use, others remain opposed, citing concerns about legality and potential negative impacts on communities. As the opioid crisis and other drug-related issues continue to pose significant challenges, the debates over the legality and effectiveness of safe injection sites is likely to persist. In conclusion, OPCs would accomplish everything the Council wants: harm reduction for our peers who are still sick and suffering, exposure to recovery for our peers, restoring our parks and downtown to safe places for our children and all residents and visitors. Let's keep in mind that if we, and I mean all of us, including myself, continue with half measures to address this issue, we will end up with exactly nothing. Half measures avail us nothing. Let us have a meeting sometime. Thank you.
It's like a giant gift.
Good evening, I'm Michael Beck, I live at 216 3rd Street. So tonight I wanted to bring up again about the annual report. So it's been a year and 3 months since we've had our last one, and as you know, the charter requires us to have it annually. Believe it or not, I'm actually not here to rail on that because it doesn't make the report appear. I guess instead I'd like to appeal to you is to use this as an opportunity to do something else that I've asked for in the past, is to bring back the other form of the annual report. In the past, the city would put out two. They would put out the report that the public liked to get, which was full of pictures, and each department would explain what they were up to the year, and you got a real picture of what the city was up to. And then the other one was what we know today as a CAFR. Here's all of our audited statements and so on and so forth. I know it's an undertaking, but a project like this is a source of community pride. And I see this as an opportunity to perhaps get our public schools involved, especially our high school, to offer them a chance to get in and talk to departments and gather some information about what they've been up to, and a project to collaborate and have them put it together, almost like a yearbook. I know schools have a yearbook class, and this is kind of an extension of that. But what a way to really dig into their city government and learn what goes on, and form some relationships, and help kids form that bond with their community. And it might have more kids staying in Bangor and using the talents that they've learned to further their community. So again, I'm asking City Council to look into somehow, some way, bringing back that annual report method, and the yearbook method, to really get that out there. Because again, we're likely not going to see the audit issue again. I fully believe what I heard the Finance Committee straighten it out, and it's not going to happen again. But this makes sure that important information gets out to the city in a way that's digestible. It's not a bunch of spreadsheets. I understand that's just the format of a CAFR, but it sure would be great to just be able to open that thing up and just see what the city's been up to and really understand it. It's such a pleasure to look at these old reports, and since I've been here, it was not done that way, and I've never personally gotten to experience that. But I sure would love to see it, and I think it would be great to get schools involved. And I appreciate the chance to talk about that. Thank you.
Right, seeing no one else approach in the room, we'll go online. Brett?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. My name is Brett Johnson. I'm a resident of Bangor, and I want to preface my comments with a few things before I get started. The first thing I want to mention is just how encouraging I think the stationing of a Bangor police officer in the downtown area is to me personally. I feel like it's a huge step forward in addressing some of our quality of life issues that are occurring in downtown, and addressing some of the illegal activities that go on in our public spaces, especially in the downtown area. And I have the utmost respect and support for the Bangor Police Department. But the issue that I'm wanting to bring up tonight has to do with the homelessness. It's called the Homelessness Crisis Protocol. It's a document that was amended and became effective again on April 1st of this year. And within this document, it's essentially a protocol for the Bangor Police Department on how they should be handling interactions with our unhoused population in Bangor. The issues that I have with this policy in particular is I believe that it essentially applies the law to a specific group of individuals experiencing homelessness in a way that the laws would not be applied to anyone in Bangor who is housed. And I just feel like that's, while I understand that the intent of a policy like this is to discourage us, kind of sweeping people that are unhoused into our criminal justice system when that's really not the best course of action. But having it codified in a policy like this, I think just creates this sense of unfairness in that the law is being applied differently depending on, you know, which of these two populations the individual is a part of. And I would just really urge the counselors to look at this and to think about the long-term consequences of such a policy, and ask yourselves if this is really getting us to a place where our public spaces are more accessible to the entire community here in Bangor, and also if it's getting us, you know, to a place that is going to help drive down this sort of criminal activity in the long run. So thank you for your time.
Time's up. Mike Tuller?
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes, this is Mike Tuller. I live at 253 Maple Street. And I can say firsthand, in case I don't make a lot of sense, is right now I'm emotionally and spiritually drained. And part of the reason is I just spent over the last 2 days, probably 7 hours, with an individual that is homeless. No, I'm not a doctor. I do have a sister that has schizophrenia. So if it's not that, then it is just severe depression and hopelessness in doing anything. Last night, there was no place for this individual to stay. They were deprived of all of their possessions and basically hassled most of the night. You know, my compassion and desire to help, but I just did not have any place for her to be, for the person to be. Morning, I tried to work, tried to find a place. It looks like, again, the individual will be vulnerable with no place to stay, though a lot of places I called, no help. You know, so I can't blame her for being hopeless. I know that it's hard to conform to the rules, but I just can't see throwing these individuals away, and I guess that's why I'm drained. On the other side, I would like to thank other people who have experienced homelessness for probably lifting me up and keeping me stable a little bit now. It still gives me hope that there are those who do care, believe in the intrinsic value of every individual. And even though this individual cannot be compliant, when they're calm, they're a beautiful soul, reaches out to everybody else, tries to bring light into people's lives, brings beauty into the area. It's just when the depression and the anxiety hits that she can't be compliant, and therefore it's just thrown away. And my compassion, I just can't understand how we can just throw people away like this. Anyway, there's my ventings. Thank you for listening.
Okay, seeing no others, public comment is closed. We'll move on to the consent agenda.
Minutes of Bangor City Council regular meeting of June 10th, 2024, and Finance Committee meeting of June 17th, 2024, and Business and Economic Development Committee meetings of May 20th, 2024, and June 3rd, 2024. Liquor license renewals, application for liquor license renewal, malt wine of Chimera Coffee LLC, doing business as Chimera Coffee, 24 Broad Street. Application for liquor license renewal, malt wine spirits of Sea Dog Ventures, Inc., doing business as Sea Dog Ventures, Inc., 26 Front Street. 24-199, order authorizing the execution of a municipal quitclaim deed for real estate located at 248 Maple Street. 24-200, order accepting city engineer's report to discontinue a portion of Coffee Street right-of-way. 24-201, order authorizing execution of an agreement renewal between Lyft, Inc., doing business as Lyft, and the City of Bangor for providing service to the Bangor International Airport. 24-202, order authorizing execution of an agreement renewal between Razor LLC, doing business as Uber, and the City of Bangor for providing service to the Bangor International Airport. 24-203, order authorizing purchase of 2 plow trucks from Freightliner of Maine for $468,679. 24-204, order authorizing the city manager to execute a contract with B&B Paving, Inc. for construction services for the resurfacing of a portion of Outer Hammond Street, Maine DOT, Win 026932.00. 24-205, order authorizing the city manager to accept a permanent bridge easement at 983 Ohio Street. 24-206, order authorizing the city manager to accept a permanent bridge easement at 932 Ohio Street. 24-207, order authorizing the city manager to accept a permanent bridge easement at 1009 Ohio Street. 24-208, order authorizing city manager to execute easement to Versant Power at city-owned lot off Milford Street Extension. 24-209, order authorizing a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Bangor and the Fraternal Order of Police representing the police commanding officers, Lodge Number 889. 24-210, order authorizing a collective bargaining agreement between the City of Bangor and the Fraternal Order of Police Bangor Patrol Officers Union. 24-211, order accepting a $12,000 donation from the Barbara Cassidy Foundation to provide heating assistance to Bangor residents in need who do not qualify for other forms of assistance. 24-212, order accepting a $5,000 donation from Fidelity Charitable on behalf of the Lisa and Miles Stryer Charitable Fund to provide homeless outreach services. 24-213, resolve acknowledging receipt of the official results of the June 11th, 2024 state primary election.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Questions or discussion on this item? Seeing none, the consent agenda has passage. Referrals to committee and first reading.
24-214, ordinance amending Chapter 165 Land Development Code District Map to rezone a property located on 14th Street from Urban Residence 1 District, URD 1, to Multifamily and Service, MNSD. First reading and referral to Planning Board on July 2nd, 2024. 24-215, ordinance amending Chapter 165 Land Development Code District Map to rezone a property located at 193 Warren Street from Urban Residence 1 District, URD 1, and Urban Residence 2 District, URD 2, to Urban Residence 2 District, URD 2. First reading and referral to Planning Board on July 2nd, 2024. 24-216, resolve authorizing the city manager to accept and appropriate $1,231,588 in the Kinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Funds from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD. First reading and referral to Government Operations Committee meeting on July 8th, 2024.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Move these items be referred.
Second. A motion and a second. These items are referred. Unfinished business.
24-165, ordinance amending Chapter 165 Land Development Code District Map to rezone a property located at 107 Thomas Hill Road from Urban Residence 1 District, URD 1, to Urban Residence 2 District, URD 2. Councilor Fish.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move for passage of 24-165 ordinance.
Second.
This ordinance would amend the Land Development Code District Map, rezone the property at map-lot 021-097, located at 107 Thomas Hill Road, from Urban Resident 1 District, URD-1, to Urban Resident 2 District, URD-2. The total area requested to be changed is approximately 0.21 acres. The applicants and owners of the record are Jerry and Brenda West. This area is within the growth boundary shown in the 2022 comprehensive plan and the future land use map, and the plan shows this property in the urban neighborhood area, which consists of medium to high density residential neighborhoods surrounding the downtown and encompassing most of the city's historic residential areas. The Planning Division finds this proposed change to be in alignment with the comprehensive plan.
This item was reviewed and recommended by a vote of 4 in favor and 1 against at the Planning Board meeting on June 18, 2024.
Thank you, Councilor Fish. We have a motion. We have a second. Questions or discussion on this item? Curious if we know what the vote against, if there was any reason for that given?
Tawny Foot, the officer, the vote against was from the chair, and it was because he felt that this was spot zoning, and other members disagreed and so he was against.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, this is an ordinance, requires a roll call vote.
Councilor Dean?
Yes.
Councilor Fish?
Yes.
Councilor Fournier?
Yes.
Councilor Leonard?
Yes.
Councilor Trumbull?
Yes.
Councilor Yakabaga?
Yes.
Councilor Pelletier?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Ordinance 24-165 has passage. Next item.
24-179 ordinance amending Chapter 148 of the Code of the City of Bangor by including the Hasties Main Stages Building as a historic landmark. Councilor Fish.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move passage of 24-179 ordinance.
Second?
The proposed change would update Chapter 148 of the city's Code of Ordinances to add Hasties Main Stages Building at 490 Broadway to the listing of historic landmarks. In the 1940s and the 1950s, Hasties Main Stages Building served as a bus garage and terminal for Hasties Main Stages, Inc. Hasties Main Stage served as a major service center for transportation, supporting tourism to and from Maine's more rural northern towns. In March of 2024, the Hasties Main Stage Building at 490 Broadway was accepted into the National Register of Historic Places based on its local significance. The Historic Preservation Commission has previously expressed interest in the local designation. This was reviewed and recommended at the Historic Preservation Commission meeting on June 13, 2024.
Thank you, Councilor Fish. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion on this item? Roll call vote.
Councilor Dean?
Yes.
Councilor Fish?
Yes.
Councilor Fournier?
Yes.
Councilor Leonard?
Yes.
Councilor Trumbull?
Yes.
Councilor Yakabaga?
Yes.
Councilor Pelletier?
Yes.
7 yes, 0 no.
Ordinance 24-179 has passage. Next item.
24-180 ordinance amending Chapter 174 loitering, Section 174-1 to prohibit loitering on narrow medians in high-volume or high-speed traffic areas. Councilor Yakabaga.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This ordinance amendment would revise the city's loitering ordinance to prohibit loitering on narrow medians less than 6 feet wide in high-volume or high-speed traffic areas to protect both those on the medians and the drivers and passengers in vehicles passing by. Under the current ordinance, loitering that impedes public streets or the free and uninterrupted passage of vehicles is not permitted. Loitering on narrow medians in high-volume or high-speed traffic areas is an obvious danger to both those on the narrow medians and those in vehicles driving past. City staff has recommended the proposed ordinance amendment due to growing safety concerns. The scope of the proposed ordinance is narrow and is expected to apply to only a small number of narrow medians located in high-volume or high-speed traffic areas on city-owned streets. An initial review of medians meeting this criteria identified the following locations that would likely be impacted: Odlin Road / I-395, Griffin Road / Union Street, Hogan Road / I-95 southbound on ramp on northbound approach of Hogan Road, Hogan Road / Bangor Mall Boulevard, Hogan Road northbound approach median, Union Street / Godfrey Boulevard median on Godfrey, Stillwater Ave / Walmart driveway, portion of driveway median inside city right-of-way, Stillwater Ave / the Avenue driveway, median on Stillwater, Stillwater Ave / Parkade driveway, median on Stillwater, and Stillwater Ave / Hobby Lobby driveway, portion inside city right-of-way. Most of these locations are designated as current high crash locations, HCLs, by the State of Maine's Department of Transportation or have been designated as HCLs in the past. This ordinance would not apply to medians located on privately owned land, nor to those located within state and interstate highways. It's expected and planned that the proposed amendment would be enforced via conversations with and education of citizens, directing them to move from the narrow median to a safer location with enforcement beyond conversations and education only in extreme circumstances. This item was reviewed at the Government Operations Committee meetings on June 3rd and 17th, 2024. So before I move to approve the passage of this ordinance, I have some discussions. Can I
Take a
have some
motion and then we'll
comments?
open for discussion.
Okay, so can we have a motion to pass the ordinance 24-180?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second?
Okay, so I want to thank Debbie first because you sent a list with the areas of high crashes and injuries. So what was not very clear in that list is who is specifically injured. Was it drivers? Was it individuals who were standing on medians? So it was not clear who was affected by those crashes. So
That information isn't available.
yeah,
in
so
that
the data
portal.
did not reflect that, yeah. So, my concern is that this ordinance is gonna affect people's freedom of speech, and second, it's gonna single out people who are unhoused in the community. I know that there are certain areas that are high crash areas, and I, after reviewing the list that you provided, I thought there are 3 specific locations that I thought were, if like, I would vote yes if they were the only 3 locations, and those were Odlin Road / I-395 and Hogan Road northbound median, Hogan Road / southbound median. I feel those 3 areas are really dangerous for people, for individuals to be standing there. That's my perception of this. I think standing on medians does not present safety hazards to driving like motor vehicles or I don't think it affects any of them except those who are maybe under the influence or maybe those who are distracted by using their phone. But I don't think the danger is because of people who are standing on those medians, if that makes sense. I don't know, that's how I look at it. I know it's gonna pass because the discussions were very clear about where everyone stands, but those are my notes about this ordinance.
Comments or discussion? Councilor Leonard.
Is this going to be open if anyone wants to speak to the public?
I've already said it will be.
Okay, sounds good. So I do have a series of questions, and in order for me to vote yes on this, I need very clear answers for all of these. So has the city worked directly with the Maine Department of Transportation on this ordinance?
No.
Okay. Does the Maine Department of Transportation have an opinion on this ordinance or of a similar ordinance somewhere in the United States?
We have not asked.
Okay. The data that has been provided to us, what is that related to safety? What are the safety parameters that are being explained in the ordinance right here? Do we have a list of what those safety parameters or what those concerns are?
The data that was provided just indicates those intersections that are defined as high crash locations by MDOT over a period of time.
Okay, so this is where I'm starting to have like some issues here. There are the data that was provided, which the thing for providing that, by the way. It lists a number of injuries, crashes. It doesn't designate, however, what led to those crashes or what were the causations of those injuries and of one of those deaths. So that's concerning that we have this data here that we could research more so that we can have a much firmer and more concrete ordinance to pass tonight. But obviously, that's not what we're going to be utilizing for this ordinance if we do decide to pass tonight. So I have issues with some of the language in here, such as loitering, but paraphrasing, adding further, is an obvious danger. I'm failing to understand how it's an obvious danger. I mean, I would love to be explained to, in some way, how it's an obvious danger, but I don't think that's appropriate wordage there, because loitering in and of itself is not dangerous. Now, you could argue that, hey, standing in the middle of traffic, loitering in the streets, I could see the obvious danger in that because you are in a traffic location. That being said, though, loitering in and of itself, if you're not in a high traffic location or you're not in a dangerous situation, I don't see how loitering in and of itself is dangerous. So I think that's not appropriate wordage there. And when I see that staff recommends the passage of this ordinance due to growing safety concerns, we have to look at that word again. What are those safety concerns for staff to recommend this ordinance? Because right now, you're providing me with no data, no specific situations for what the dangers are, what the safety concerns are, what the percentages of these crashes are, and how they are related to loitering on medians in the first place. So I just see a lot of faulty logic here with this ordinance in a lot of ways. So I guess that with all this said, this is my question. Is this going to stand up in scrutiny in a court of law? If a judge were to hear this, like they heard a similar ordinance in Portland many years ago, how is this going to stand up? I mean, do we have, I mean, can you walk me through what that logic is?
Can I speak
Sure.
on that? Sure. Yeah, this ordinance amendment is much more narrow than the Portland ordinance that outlawed loitering type activities on all medians within the city. So they also permitted political signs in places where they were not allowing other forms of loitering. So the court that struck down the Portland ordinance had a problem with the overbreadth of the ordinance because it applied to all medians. This particular ordinance amendment is only expected to apply to about 10 medians amongst all the many medians in our city. So it's narrowly tailored. And that's one way that it's different. And if I could speak to narrowly tailored, so it's narrow medians only in high traffic volume or high-speed traffic areas. So that's much different than the Portland ordinance was. Nor would we wouldn't be permitting any people to be on those particularly dangerous ones.
If I can refer though to, are you familiar with Wagner versus the City of Dallas?
I have looked at numerous cases.
So that one in particular, just for the folks at home, it's a similar ordinance that was passed in the City of Dallas restricting loitering on medians in a 6 feet or shorter width. And that specific ordinance that passed, which held up to the scrutiny of a judge, passed because that was 2 years worth of research on what those high crash locations are, how they affected pedestrians, and how that specific ordinance to ban loitering on those medians was directly related to the safety of those individuals at those medians. So this is my issue. If I set a very high bar when it comes to limiting people's freedom of speech somewhere, So when I hear safety concerns, I do take those seriously. So for example, we said earlier in a previous GovOps meeting on this subject that it can get so dark and it can get really hard to see. Well, why not have a loitering ban for just people who are loitering on these medians at night? We'll pass that comment for now, but this is my issue though. That ordinance that passed in the city of Dallas provided 2 years worth of data related to the safety concerns of pedestrians loitering on medians, and they were able to give empirical data showcasing why the ban on those medians was not only acceptable to implement, but would actually help save lives. I have not been given any form of data that tells me that this ordinance is actually going to save lives. So unless I have a 95% guarantee that this is going to help save lives, I see this as really just a discriminatory law for right now, because I'm not given any data to showcase otherwise. I have to give the benefit of the doubt. In this case, this is really, in my opinion, a gross violation of the First Amendment, and I'm more than willing to put this off so that the council can consider better language, so that it can actually use empirical data to showcase why certain medians need to ban loitering. I am completely okay with that. But as of right now, my concerns are, if we pass this tonight, it's going to go to a courtroom, a judge is going to hear it. I fear that it's going to get laughed out of court, and that the city's going to be liable for court fees that we could easily completely avoid if we have a comprehensive approach to this ordinance. I do not have any faith in this ordinance right now to hold up against the scrutiny in the court of law. So until such amendments are made to this ordinance, I cannot in good faith vote to pass this tonight. And I would strongly encourage my fellow councilors to vote in the same way. I don't think this is ready to be passed tonight.
Councilor Fish.
I've lived in Bangor for a long time, spent most of my life since 15 working and driving around Bangor. In the last 5 to 10 years, the loitering in the medians, especially in these busy sections, I feel has become dangerous. I myself have had a close call nearly hitting someone. Yes, one was at dark, but also I witnessed someone nearly being hit just last week when it was a major intersection with people turning left and right and going straight and every which way. And as the person put their hand out the window to give some money or give something, the person stepped in front of traffic as the light turned green, exactly at one of these intersections. And I think that if we have the report that I saw that numbered crashes at these high crash sites being anywhere from, if I recall, from 30, I don't know if you have it in front of you, Dave, but 30 to 60 crash sites. And from what I understand from the calls I made, these reports do not tell what the personal injury is, if it was caused by someone stepping out or exactly what the cause is. I think they just categorize it under a certain category as personal injury or something. It's just categorized. So to spend 2 or 3 more years researching, which I think we kind of have a habit of spending years and years and years to research, when I think we represent the city, we live in the city, we drive around these busy intersections, we've witnessed close calls, there's children sometimes in these intersections, and I think it is us individuals that to use common sense, that live here and see it, to try to prevent an injury with common sense before it occurs. And I don't think that this is too broad. I think that these intersections don't allow any other signs or any other forms of freedom of speech. And I'm all for freedom of speech, and I would fight just as hard for it. But I have seen this be too often a close call. And I don't think we need a death of a child or someone else that's at one of these meetings, I think will be more liable. And I trust our city solicitor's opinion that he's done the appropriate research, and I'm going to vote for it.
Councilor Trumbull?
Yeah, thanks. So I think this is a reasonable compromise. I mean, there's some people that want a broader restriction on these, and some people obviously don't want any. I think it's this limitation on width, the high speed, high crash locations. And we had a lot of comment at the committee meeting the other night, and the thing that strikes me from the people that seem, one of the themes is they like to wait until there's an accident, until something happens, then do something. I think everybody says we're always reactive, not proactive. I think this, for once, we're going to be proactive, and I think prevent tragedies from happening. So I think this is a very reasonable amendment to the ordinance, and I'm full support of it.
Any other councilors wish to speak? Is there any comment in the room?
Well, Michael Beck again, 216 3rd Street. First, I'll start by saying I believe you're all very well intentioned, and I do believe in the notion that, you know, why should we wait till someone gets killed? However, that doesn't work in court. I wanted to expand on something that one of the councilors mentioned, and that was about Wagner versus Dallas. And it was more than just the 2 years. It was the entire city's plan, of Vision Zero, they called it, where, like Bangor, they did not know how these different accidents happened. They did not have the data about who was killed other than just raw stats, and that was it. So they made a point to go get it, because they knew, based on previous cases, that the court will ask, just like they did in Portland. Portland was more about overbreadth. There was, where's the data? And Portland had none, or very little, equivalent to what we have here. They Googled the website just like we are doing. It was also about the fact of, what else have you tried? Before we went to the nuclear option, what else did you try? And Dallas had a whole list of things that they tried, that this is the last thing we can possibly do. This is it. And not only that, the fact that that study was not done to justify the ordinance was born out of the study. Because their entire goal was to cut back on the deaths, because people were dying. And so they wanted to get that number to zero, Vision Zero. So I'm here to say, send it back to committee. Don't kill it. Send it back to committee. There's homework that needs to be done here. One sentence is not going to stand up in court. It's just not, because there's so many questions. If you go back to Cutting versus Portland, if you go back to Wagner versus Dallas, they gave a roadmap on how to do this right. We need to go back and do it right. We need to be making sure we're addressing free speech, any limitation with a scalpel, not a cudgel. Send it back to committee, and I'm telling you that get the data, get it right, get all the ducks in a row, because it will be challenged. And this is my final point, this is my motivation. It's gonna cost money to defend this law. And I love the ACLU, but they didn't get elected to run Bangor, and I don't want them to, tell you what you can and can't do. But they have a point, and they are right, and they will sue, and they should sue. I know there's lawyers lined up that are gonna get their mortgages paid from this. And if we're gonna spend that kind of money, why don't we spend it to build houses for people who live in Bangor instead of defending a law that we don't have any evidence will save lives? Thank you.
See no other comment, I will add mine, which is that I think this, for me, is sufficiently narrow in that it is designating a very small number of the hundreds, if not thousands, of places in Bangor where someone can actively express their First Amendment rights, whether that's holding a sign, planting a sign, standing, loitering. And because of the testimony that we received from the chief of police saying that the way to enforce this will be through conversations and encouraging people to go to a location that is safe. If you're telling me that some of these locations have dozens and dozens of crashes in the last few years, I think anytime cars collide, people shouldn't be in the middle of it. And I do believe that this will be challenged, but I believe it's narrow enough for it to hold up. So this, to me, is not something about limiting free speech. It's about being proactive and creating safer places in Bangor for both pedestrians and for drivers. This is an ordinance that requires a roll call vote.
Councillor Dean?
Yes.
Councillor Fish?
Yes.
Councillor Fournier?
Yes.
Councillor Leonard?
100% no.
Councillor Trumbull?
Yes.
Councillor Yakabaga?
No.
Councillor Pelletier?
Yes.
5 yes, 2 no.
Ordinance 24-180 has passage. Next item.
24-181, resolve authorizing the city manager to accept and appropriate $38,000 from the Center for Tobacco Independence to provide tobacco treatment in Penobscot County high schools. Councillor Yakabaga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move the passage of Resolve 24-181.
Second.
Thank you. This resolve would authorize the city manager to accept and appropriate $38,000 in funding from the Center for Tobacco Independence to provide tobacco treatment in Penobscot County high schools from June 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. Bangor Public Health and Community Services will be responsible for providing the tobacco treatment services and will work with tobacco treatment services to identify schools. Bangor Public Health and Community Services has been providing tobacco treatment services since 2022. This item was reviewed and recommended for passage at the Government Operations Committee meeting on June 30, 2024.
Thank you, Councillor Yakabaga. We have a motion, we have a second. Questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, resolve 24-181 has passage. Next item.
24-182, resolve making an appropriation for the total school budget for the Bangor School Department as required by 28 MRS Section 15690-4A. Councillor Fish.
I move for passage of 24-182. This resolve will appropriate the total school budget in the amount of $59,530,920 as required by 20-A MRSA Section 15690-4A. This article does not provide any money unless the other articles are approved. So I move to amend Council Resolve 182 by substituting to replace it with the amended resolve that has been provided to the council, which reflects the changes approved by the school board since April.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. First vote is to approve.
The first vote was to approve the passage, and now I will move the resolve 24-182 as amended.
You
Oh,
can vote on the
No, we need to
amendment
vote on
first.
the amendment
That's
first.
correct, yes.
Correct. Okay, so the first vote is to approve the amendment by substitution. Okay. Do we need to roll call, or we can just do?
Don't need to.
Okay, seeing no doubt, the amendment by substitution is passed.
Now the
Now you
motion.
move it as amended by substitution.
Okay, now I move the resolve as amended.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, resolve 24-182 has passage. Next item.
24-183, resolve approving school department estimates of revenue and budget, trusted agency fund. Councillor Trumbull.
Thank you. I move for passage of Resolve 24-183.
Second.
This will approve the school department's trust and agency budget in the amount of $3,624,735.
Thank you, Councillor Trumbull. We have a motion, we have a second. Seeing no doubt, 24-183 has passage.
24-184, resolve, approving school department estimates of revenue from state sources and budget enterprise fund. Councilor Yakabaga.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move the passage of Resolve 24-184.
Second.
This resolve will approve the school department's enterprise fund budget in the amount of $2,294,628 for the period of July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. If approved, the fund includes $2,252,173 for the food services programs and $42,455 for adult ed enrichment.
Thank you, Councilor Yakabaga. We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no doubt for discussion, item 24-184 has passage. Next item.
24-185, resolve, approving school department estimates of revenue from state sources and budget special revenue fund. Councilor Dean.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move Resolve 24-185 to have
Second.
passage. This resolve will approve the school department's special revenue fund in the amount of $3,610,307. These special revenues are used to support a variety of educational activities as detailed in the resolve.
Thank you, Councilor Dean. We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no objection, 24-185 has passage.
24-186, resolve, making an appropriation of $397,795 for adult education for the Bangor School Department as required by 20 AMRS Section 8603A1. Councilor Fish.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. This resolve 24-186, I move for passage of this resolve.
Second.
This resolve will appropriate funding for adult education in the amount of $397,795, the local share of which is $245,000.
Thank you, Councilor Fish. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no doubt, 24-186 has passage.
24-187, resolve, vocational education, region number 4, appropriation pursuant to Title 20A, Chapter 606, 15601-15619, Maine Revised Statutes. Councilor Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Make a motion on 24-187.
Second.
This resolve will approve expenditures as required by Title 20-A MRSA for the vocational education region number 4 operating budget in the amount of $4,842,937.10 and the local share for adult education of $18,022.96.
Thank you, Councilor Leonard. We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no doubt, 24-187 has passage.
24-188, resolve, making an appropriation of $2,180,000 for non-state funded debt service allocation for the Bangor School Department as required by 20 AMRS Section 15690-2A. Councilor Fournier.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to for passage of Resolve 24-188.
Second.
This resolve will appropriate the non-state funded debt service allocation in the amount of $2,180,000. Non-state funded debt service is the amount of money needed for the payments of school department long-term debt for major capital construction projects and/or minor capital renovation projects that are not approved for state subsidy. The issuance of this long-term debt was previously approved by the Bangor City Council.
We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no doubt, 24-188 has passage.
24-189, resolve, making an appropriation for the Bangor School Department in excess of the minimum spending target established by 28 MRS Section 15671A4. Councilor Yakabaga.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move passage of Council Resolve 24-189.
Second.
So do I read and then we amend? Okay. This resolve will authorize the appropriation of local funds in excess of the minimum spending target limit in the amount of $10,365,091. The Bangor School Committee recommends $10,365,091 of additional funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model by $10,365,091. Special education, $3,439,944. Transportation, $273,251. Co- and extracurricular activities, $1,247,671. Technology, $690,149. And employee benefits, $4,714,076. I move to amend Council Resolve 24-189 by substitution to replace it with the amended resolve that has been provided to the Council, which reflects the changes approved by the school board since April.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. First vote is on the amendment. Seeing no doubt, the amendment is approved. Now we can move passage.
I move Resolve 24-189 as amended.
Second.
It's a motion and a second on the table. Seeing no doubt, 24-189 has passage.
24-190, resolve making an appropriation of $19,298,734 for the school district contribution to the total cost of funding public education from pre-K to grade 12 as required by 28 MRSA, Section 15690(1)(a)(b). Councilor Leonard.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Make a motion on 24-190.
Second.
This resolve will appropriate the local share of the total cost of the essential programs and services funding model in the amount of $19,298,734.
Thank you, Councilor Leonard. We have a motion, we have a second. Seeing no doubt, 24-190 has passage.
24-191, resolve appropriation for municipal year 2025. Councilor Trumbull.
Madam Clerk, Madam Chair, I would move resolve 24-191.
Second.
This amended resolve will appropriate funding for the fiscal year 2025 municipal budget. This amendment includes all changes recommended by the City Council and City Manager since the submission of the City Manager's recommended budget. So I would move to amend this resolve by substitution, replace it with the amended resolve that has been provided to the Council, which reflects the Council requested changes made since April to the original budget.
Thank you, Councilor Trumbull.
Second.
The motion on the table is to accept the amendment. Seeing no doubt, the amendment is accepted.
I would move resolve 24-191 as amended.
Second.
Second.
And I would just say, I mean, this is the municipal budget, and it's been quite a budget process. I mean, you know, you're gonna see headlines in the paper, this town, that town, reduced the tax rate. We reduced the tax rate tremendously, but unfortunately, valuations are going up. I think the average taxpayer with this bill is typical taxpayer is gonna see around $280, around $280 increase. So that's, you know, that's for the average taxpayer. So it's not gonna be an easy tax bill for people to receive. I mean, everybody else is seeing their utilities go up, they're seeing their grocery bills go up. So it's, and the city's not immune from that. Our electricity costs, payroll costs have gone up. So I think in light of everything going on in the financial world, this is a very reasonable municipal budget, but it's still going to impact people. So I'm very much in support of it.
Thank you. Other comments?
Public?
Yep, approach, you have 3 minutes.
Again, Michael Beck, 216 3rd Street. I just wanted to add that I still disagree with the process of making these appropriations from the unassigned fund balance at the beginning of the process while we're still adjusting the tax rate at the end. To me, it would make more sense to get through all of the line items and see where things are at, and then move money as appropriate, especially in light of the fact that taxes again are going up. And as I mentioned in a previous meeting, we've moved over $15 million from the unassigned fund balance in the last 3 years. That's unprecedented in Bangor history. And I'm having a hard time reconciling an increased tax bill when I'm watching that many millions of dollars in unassigned funds be swirled away into rainy day funds. I just think going forward, that should be something done at the end. Don't handcuff yourselves until all the decisions have been made. But I do thank you for all of your work on this. It was many hours, and I only had to watch it. You guys had to sit through it and discuss it, so thank you.
Seeing no other comments, and seeing no doubt, 24-191 has passage. Next item.
24-192, resolve, making an appropriation for various capital purposes utilizing various reserves, trusted agency accounts, and other funds for expenditures to be made during fiscal year 2025. Councilor Fournier.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Chair, I'd like to move passage on Council Resolve 24-192.
Second.
This resolve will make appropriations from various sources to fund programs or purchases identified in the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. Over the past 2 months, City Council has reviewed all aspects of various capital and operational needs. The attachment identifies the purchases and the funding source to be used. The following summarizes the recommended appropriations and the source from which they come. State LRAP funding, $300,000. Local seizure account, $126,000. Fire equipment reserve, $240,000. Energy efficiency reserve, $30,000. Equipment reserve, $809,000. Community connector reserve, $187,000. Workers' comp reserve, $70,000. Cascade Park Trust, $18,000. Forest reserve, $45,000. Unassigned fund balance, $1,720,124. School unassigned fund balance, $345,124. School future construction, $99,752. Improvement reserve, $1,170,153, for a total of $5,160,153. Madam Chair, I'd move to amend Resolve 24-192 by substitution to replace it with the amended resolve that has been provided to the council, which reflects all the council's recommended changes.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. First vote is to approve the amendment. Seeing no doubt, the amendment is approved.
Madam Chair, I move Resolve 24-192 as amended.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no doubt, 24-192 has passage.
24-193, resolve, making an appropriation of downtown TIF funds for expenditures to be made in fiscal year 2025. Councilor Yakabaga.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move the passage of Resolve 24-193.
Second.
This resolve would appropriate $4,135,992 in funds for expenditures to be made from the Downtown TIF program. During the fiscal year 2025 budget process, the City Council reviewed all requests for various capital and operational needs, some of which were recommended for funding from the Downtown Development District TIF funds. These funds may only be expended for purposes identified within the TIF application as previously approved by the City Council and the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development. Allowable projects include those related to downtown and parking, the waterfront, downtown infrastructure improvements, that is sidewalks, sewers, streets, parks, etc. Arena debt services, cleanup of the Penobscot River, and allowable Tier 3 costs. This resolve was reviewed by the Council as part of the budget review process. This is based on the city manager's recommended budget.
Thank you, Councilor Yakabaga. We have a motion. We have a second. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, 24-193 has passage.
24-194 resolve appropriating $821,576 of fiscal year 2024 community development block grant funding and $250,000 in anticipated program income. Councilor Trumbull.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Chair, I move passage of Resolve 24-194.
Second.
This will appropriate $821,576 community development block grant funds for fiscal year 2024, the city fiscal year 2025, awarded through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, as well as $250,000 in program income from anticipated loan repayments. The required public comment period was held at the Business and Economic Development Committee meeting on April 30th, 2024, and was advertised, pending the outcome of required public hearing on June 10th, 2024.
Thank you, Councilor Trumbull. We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no doubt, item 24-194 has passage. New business.
Madam Clerk?
Yes.
I don't know how long it vote's good for, but it's previously been determined I have a conflict on the first item, and I may have a conflict on the second item as well, even though I'm not the landlord at 8 Bangor Mill Boulevard. I'm the applicant's landlord at another location. So I've definitely got a conflict on the first one.
Thank you.
Liquor license renewal, application for liquor license renewal, malt wine of Seven Below LLC, doing business as Moe's Original Barbecue, 650 Broadway. Councilor Fournier.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Chair, I'd like recommend approval for the application for liquor license renewal, malt wine of Seven Below LLC, doing business as Moe's Original Barbecue, 650 Broadway.
Thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Questions or discussion on this item? We do not need a public hearing. All right, seeing no doubt, the license renewal has passage. Next item.
Madam Chair, point of order
Yes.
regarding Councilor Trumbull. I don't see that there's a conflict
With the public hearing?
with the next item. I don't.
Yeah, Chair, Madam Chair. I think Councilor Trumbull should elaborate on what the potential conflict might be, and then the council can vote on whether he has a conflict or not. But he didn't elaborate, so
Okay.
it might be best to have him come in.
Can we call him back? Explain yourself, sir.
Which item?
The second.
Oh. Last, the applicant on the second item.
Yes, can you explain your conflict, please?
They're a tenant at property on the other road.
So they're a tenant at a property that he
Not
owns
this property.
on the
but
Udlum Road.
And this is
But
for
this-
special amusement.
But this is just a special amusement for the Bangor Mall.
Right, same
Okay.
tenant.
Yeah. I don't see a conflict.
I think.
I think the council should vote on
Okay.
whether
Yeah, I just
there's
wanted
a conflict.
So we're going to take a roll call vote on whether or not there is a conflict. Yes means a conflict, no means there is not. Is that clear? Okay.
Councilor Dean.
No.
Councilor Fish.
No.
Councilor Fournier.
No.
Councilor Leonard.
No.
Councilor Yakabaga.
No.
Councilor Pelletier.
Yes.
1 yes, 5 no.
Guess you're stuck sitting here. All right. We have a motion and a second, I believe, on the public hearing.
No, we haven't
No,
got there
we
yet.
do not. Okay, next item.
Public hearing, application for special amusement license of Las Palapas Mexican Restaurant LLC, doing business as Las Palapas Mexican Restaurant LLC, 8 Bangor Mall Boulevard. Councilor Fournier.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to open up the public hearing for this application.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Public hearing is open.
Seeing nobody approach, I'd like to close the public hearing.
Second.
So motion and a second. Public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, I'd like passage for the application for special amusement license of Los, butcher this,
Palapas.
Palapas, thank you, Mexican Restaurant LLC, doing business as Los Palapas, Mexican Restaurant LLC, 8 Bangor Mall Boulevard.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Questions or discussion? Special amusement license is granted. Last item.
24-217, order authorizing the allocation of $250,000 in state and local fiscal recovery funds to support the rental registry's quality housing provider program. Councilor Dean.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I move passage of Order 24-217.
Second.
This order will authorize the allocation of $250,000 in state and local fiscal recovery funds, also known as ARPA funds, to fund the rental registry's quality housing provider program, to offer low-cost loans for property owners according to the income designation of tenant households whose income exceeds the 80% area median income threshold. The rental registration pilot program and the quality housing provider program is expected to improve the quality, safety, and efficiency of multifamily buildings. It is expected that many properties will be eligible for CDBG funding to address code requirements, property maintenance, and chronic disinvestment, and which are occupied by households which qualify as low to moderate income households. However, many buildings provide housing to tenants of middle income and will also require compliance with local building codes. This program would offer a tiered funding for all landlords wishing to improve their housing units for tenants while prioritizing opportunities for those property owners providing affordable rentals. This program will assist with critical repairs, the installation of required fire prevention systems, and upgrades to energy-efficient systems to lower heating and cooling costs. This allocation is eligible for funding within the government services category and coincides with the Council's priority to support housing and reduce obstacles which may prevent safe and affordable housing to all citizens. This item was reviewed and recommended at the Business and Economic Development Committee meeting on June 3rd, 2024.
Thank you, Councilor Dean. We have a motion, we have a second. Comments or discussion on this item? Seeing none, Order 24-217 has passage. Brings us to the end of the regular agenda for the evening. Comments from staff? Thank you. Closing comments, Councilor Dean.
Once again, thank you everyone for coming out tonight. I know this was a big night with budget, big night for Council Fish and I, where we are new to the whole budget process. It's been very eye-opening, and I appreciate everyone's patience with us while we're learning this. I do really enjoy what I'm doing here, and I appreciate all of you coming out to help us make our decisions. On a happy note, this past weekend had a lot of goings-on downtown. I think we saw a lot of families, a lot of color, a lot of fun, had a little bit of sunshine, which was very nice. So I do appreciate you all, and thank you for coming.
Councilor Fournier?
Good night.
Councilor Leonard?
Good night.
Councilor Trumbull?
Good night.
Councilor Yakabaga?
I have a couple of things to say. So it was a big night tonight, yes, with the budget. It took us hours and hours. It was rough, and we know many people are not very happy. But again, to provide the services, we tried, we did our best. I wanna just say a couple words. I wish the superintendent was here. I wanna bid him goodbye, and I hope he has a happy retirement. He has been instrumental in the past 3 years in the school department, caring for all students. I was honored to work with him in many capacities. The latest was when he invited me to join the search committee for the new superintendent. to make sure that the voices of people of diverse backgrounds and the new winners are heard. So I appreciate that he will be missed, and we're excited to work with the new superintendent. And the weekend was full of colors, explosion of colors, of diversity, of respect. It was beautiful, even though I was unable to be part of it. But yeah, it was a good representation of everyone in this community and what it stands for. Have a good night.
Thank you, Councillor Fish.
I'd like to echo Councillor Dean's comments. Our first budget experience and the many meetings and hours and questions we had for staff and management. I really appreciate the patience they gave us. And it's very complex. I know as a taxpayer, being on that side and not on this side for many years, I had many gripes and complaints, but I'm kind of proud of how diligent and how hard each department has worked to try to really to keep the budgets under control and yet keep our city safe and vibrant and healthy. It's not an easy task, it's very complex, and I learned a lot from it. And over the weekend, it was just a great reminder of how healthy and vibrant and wonderful our city is, to see so many people in town and the waterfront so busy and all the activities we had. It was just seeing Bangor at its best. Good night.
Thank you. I would like to express my thanks to our police department, our fire department, the Parks and Rec team, the Business and Economic Development team, the Downtown Bangor Partnership, and everyone who played a role in making Downtown Bangor so fantastic this weekend, between bike races and foot races and pride festivals and waterfront concerts. If you were bored in Bangor this weekend, it was your own fault. And it's just a delight to see the city so full of energy, so welcoming to visitors from other places, and really just putting our best foot forward about what it means to be Bangor. So thank you to everyone who worked extra hours, overtime, making sure that those events went off smoothly and without a hitch and safely. It's really something to behold, and very, very proud to have been able to stand on stage and at least represent the city for a couple of minutes. But congrats to our new councilors for surviving your first budget season. It does get easier. This was a year ago, it was my first budget season, and next year by this time you'll have all the numbers memorized, I promise. But it is, a budget is never easy. Everything that we want to help grow and maintain the city, from paint and asphalt to new vehicles and sidewalk plows, everything is more expensive, just like everything is more expensive in our home budgets. And so I think every one of us agonized over each of the dollars that we're spending, and we're asking all of you to spend to help maintain and improve our quality of life in Bangor. We did take the city manager's recommended budget and slice and dice quite a bit off it to come up with the final number. And we hope that when you look at your tax bill this year, that you will see the services that come from living in a city like Bangor, and know that each one of us is also paying those taxes that we're asking you to pay as well. So thank you all for coming out tonight. Enjoy the rest of June.